Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Raw Politics. It is my hope that you're fine. I'm also okay. As you know, our media, the mainstream media that is, has never hidden their dislike for President William Ruto, whether it is before he was elected or after he was elected. The media has always ran narratives against President Ruto. So it's not a surprise that after Raila Odinga did an interview in which he confirmed to the world that ODM party will stick with Ruto till 2027, the media didn't like that at all. And so what did they do? Through Citizen, they called none other than Edwin Sifuna. And why Edwin Sifuna? Edwin Sifuna, for those of you who don't know, is the Secretary General of ODM party. Legally, Sifuna is the spokesperson of ODM party. So they called the spokesperson to tell Kenyans what is the official position of the ODM party. Because like I told you, they didn't like the position Raila Odinga gave. And Edwin Sifuna didn't disappoint. He was not only obviously bitter. Sifuna painted William Ruto in the worst way possible. To quote him, William Ruto's government is the worst government in the history of this country. Yes. In fact, he did even a calculation which showed that by the time William Ruto is leaving office, he would have murdered over 30,000 Kenyans. And this, ladies and gentlemen, excited the audience that it was intended for. The audience that wants to hear how Luo Nyanza is divided in the middle, how Raila Odinga is irrelevant, that his support for Ruto is useless, that audience was really entertained. Now, I have made at least 2 videos about Edwin Sifuna. The first instance, I did a video on why Edwin Sifuna has issues with Ruto at personal level. And also, after that, I did a video on whose behalf is Edwin Sifuna making his statements. Now, I didn't plan to do any video about Sifuna soon, but now that he went to the media and spoke authoritatively, even criticizing ODM party, I feel compelled to share what my views about Sifuna are. But I'm not going to tell you how much I don't like Sifuna's approach, etc. No. This is real politics. So what we are going to do, we are going to answer the question on whose behalf is Edwin Sifuna speaking. That is the question we are going to answer here, ladies and gentlemen. And if that is a topic you are interested in, stay tuned. If you are watching us for the first time, take a second, subscribe to the channel so that you are notified whenever we produce videos of this nature. By the way, it is free. It won't cost you anything. It just helps the channel grow. Like I said, we are going to answer again the question on whose behalf is Sifuna speaking. And why is that? Why would I do a similar video? Well, because 2 things happened since I did the last video about Sifuna, explaining on whose behalf he speaks. Raila Odinga, during the burial of the late Ongondowere, the MP for Kasipul, he made it clear that Edwin Sifuna was the party spokesperson, that it is Sifuna, courtesy of him being the Secretary General, who tells the public the position of ODM, that even though people would have different views, even though people would look at issues of broad-based government differently, the position of the party shall be shared by Edwin Sifuna. But there's something people missed from that speech, by the way, because according to majority of the commentators, Raila Odinga was approving of Sifuna's criticism of William Ruto. Because during that particular funeral, Sifuna had gotten up and had spoken critical of the broad-based government. And so when Raila Odinga got up and said that Sifuna was the one who speaks the mind of the party, there were people who were cheering on the crowd, thinking that Raila was endorsing what Sifuna was saying. To make sure that there was clarity, Raila went ahead to say, as such, Sifuna, stop being bitter. He said, wacha machungu. Why was he saying this? All that Raila was doing, ladies and gentlemen, if you can get the clip, was not to endorse the statement, the reckless statements of Sifuna. No. He was just telling him that any other person is allowed to have opinion. Any other person can say the things they want to say. However, you, Sifuna, courtesy of your office, being the spokesperson of the party, you are not allowed to have your own opinion and air it out there under I am the SG. Whatever you air, Sifuna, must be the position of the party, united position of the party. In fact, that is why Raila started that particular speech, ladies and gentlemen, by saying the party must be united and be strong. So he was telling Sifuna that, courtesy of your position, you are only to communicate what we have agreed, deliberated and agreed on. It's a common ground. You can't just come, give lectures, and sign off with, I am the SG of the party. That is why he told him plainly there that stop being bitter. You can find the clip and watch it. But I was telling you that since he said that, there are people who took it to mean that Raila Odinga endorsed the statements of Sifuna. That whatever Sifuna was saying, which was very critical of the broad-based government and advocating for the removal of President Ruto before his term is over, were endorsed by Raila Odinga. So since that happened, I had to make that clarification. I could be wrong, but I want to tell you that if you have some basic knowledge of literature, Raila Odinga, or our analysis of speeches, Raila Odinga started by saying, the party must be united. He went ahead and said that it is okay that within the party people could hold different views on a specific issue or different issues. However, the official position of the party is communicated by none other than the Secretary General. And people thought that he was endorsing the angry remark Sifuna had just made a few moments earlier. No, he added that that is why, Sifuna, you should not be bitter. Meaning you should not go out there and share your personal views and then sign off with, I am speaking in my capacity as the Secretary General of the party. Whatever you communicate must be the position of the party, not your individual position. Something else has also happened since I did that post. Raila Odinga has gone to the media and said that that the party will stick with Ruto till 2027. That is very easy to interpret, ladies and gentlemen, because if they're sticking with Ruto till 2027, what he was saying in simple terms is that ODM is likely to form a partnership with UDA. And I'm not just coming up with this. Mbadi, the former chair of ODM and the current CS for Treasury, was in Homa Bay. And he said that I can confirm to you that UDA and ODM are going to have a partnership moving into 2027, an official coalition. Yes. So that was being communicated by Mbadi. And you have heard several times the party chairperson, current party chairperson, Her Excellency Gladys Wanga, the governor for Homa Bay, reiterating that ODM and Kenya Kwanza are working together, that they fully support and inside and are in this government to stay. But Sifuna came to the studio and told you that the biggest objective of ODM is to remove William Ruto from power. That whatever he was telling the nation is something that he has discussed with Raila Odinga. That the fact that Raila Odinga is not issuing press conferences or press releases to discredit what he says means that he is endorsing Raila, that Raila Odinga endorses his speeches. That is why I'm doing another video to look into who actually is Sifuna speaking for? Just as a reminder, 3 things. 1, Raila Odinga said that Sifuna is the spokesperson of the party. 2, Raila Odinga went to the media and said, recent interview on NTV, and said that they are going to stick with William Ruto till 2027. And the third is that Sifuna, the SG of the party, went to the media to contradict Raila Odinga 100%. So we ask ourselves the question, who does Sifuna speak for? And I want to give you 3 approaches to this. There are those who believe that Sifuna speaks for Raila Odinga, meaning he says the things Raila Odinga can't say. So if Raila is with Ruto, let's say at the cabinet retreat, he's all laughter and they're laughing and he's believing that this government is doing wonders. He's even sharing his views on how things should be implemented. Well, Raila goes for an interview and is like, no, the government is doing a lot. The government is making changes here, etc. There are things that we are still fixing, but the government is doing something good. And we will stick with this government. But then he sends Sifuna to go and speak his mind, the things that he can't say himself. So that is the first approach. There are those who are persuaded that Sifuna speaks for Raila Odinga. He says the things that ODM can't say, meaning that the number 1 agenda of ODM party is to get William Ruto out of power. I will revisit each, but let me just list the 3 of them first. The first approach, I've told you, is where you look at Sifuna as Raila Odinga's spokesperson, the one who says the things he can't say. He does Raila's dirty job, if you may. Number 2 are those who are persuaded that Sifuna speaks for the opposition, that is there to echo the opposition narrative, using his position in ODM as the Secretary General, meaning he is wrecking ODM from within. If he is in the opposition, which is comprised and currently being led by Rigathi Gachagua, that Rigathi Gachagua is 100% against Raila Odinga, even dismissed Raila Odinga's influence and said that he was no longer influential, that nobody needed him, that even with this support for William Ruto, Rigathi and his team would still win at 70%. If Sifuna was echoing their message, echoing their narrative, then he is simply wrecking ODM from within. It causes doubt. ODM is in kind of partnership with Kenya Kwanza. When the people in Kenya Kwanza see the Secretary General of the party saying plainly that their number 1 agenda is to get rid of William Ruto, to make sure he does not even reach the end of his term, then people start now having suspicion. Are these people we need to work with? Are these people that we should trust? So he would be wrecking ODM from within. Number 3, there are those who look at Sifuna and say, Sifuna is simply expressing himself. He's outspoken. He is not the kind to endorse malpractices. He is someone who will speak his mind. He doesn't care who he hurts. So in that case, Sifuna is just venting and complaining about bad governance as an individual, not as the secretary of the party, but in his capacity as Sifuna, the senator for Nairobi. 3 things, 3 approaches. 1, Sifuna speaks for Raila and ODM party. 2, Sifuna speaks for the opposition, echoing their narrative. 3, Sifuna speaks his mind. He is tired of bad governance and is just expressing how frustrated he is as a leader to be in this country under William Ruto. Let's begin with the first approach. I am persuaded beyond reasonable doubt that Sifuna does not speak for ODM, let alone Raila Odinga. I know this does not align with the popular analysis. But then again, when did we stoop low to align with popular analysis and ignore the truth? Ask yourself a question, ladies and gentlemen. If Sifuna is speaking for Raila Odinga, and their main goal as a party is to ensure that Ruto is out of office, then ask yourself a simple question. Why would Raila join Ruto? Because he can achieve that without joining him. Why would he? Remember, joining Ruto means that you partake in his failures if they are. That is what happened to Raila Odinga when he joined Uhuru Kenyatta. When you join somebody's government, then when that government is criticized, then you are criticized as well. When Ruto government is accused of so many things, then ODM also, and Raila as the party leader, is accused of the same. So why join him to be tainted when your main goal is to get rid of him? That's why I tell you it doesn't make sense. Wait a bit. Martha Karua on Nation, I think Nation FM, was saying that William Ruto is still in power thanks to Raila Odinga. That it is Raila Odinga that is sustaining William Ruto in power. That should Raila Odinga use his conscience, and Martha Karua was really pleading with him that he should rely on his conscience and leave William Ruto, William Ruto's government will fall immediately. Now, that is far-fetched. The opposition is living in utopia, but let's say she was right. If that is the case, that Raila Odinga is the one sustaining William Ruto, that without Raila Odinga, William Ruto's government will fail immediately, then why is Raila still in broad-based government? If his agenda is to get rid of Ruto, why is he in government? All he has to do is to leave with ODM, and Ruto's government, if that is his goal, will fail, and he would have achieved his goal. So why is he still there? Why is he saying that they are there until 2027? Ask yourself that, ladies and gentlemen. I want us to reach a level where we don't look at things from how does it suit my current political views to what is the reality. Does it make sense? That is the approach I want us to take. Whenever we look at a certain political issue, does it make sense? So does it make sense that Raila Odinga will tell Sifuna to go and tell the world that ODM's position is to get rid of William Ruto? How does that help Raila Odinga? If Sifuna is speaking on behalf of Raila Odinga or speaking on behalf of ODM, how does it work for the ODM members that are already in the cabinet? I mean, we have Oparanya in the cabinet. That was not just anybody. That was a deputy party leader of ODM. We have Joe in the cabinet. That, ladies and gentlemen, was another deputy party leader of ODM. We have Opiyo Wandayi. Opiyo Wandayi was not your ordinary MP. He was the minority leader and a member of NEC. Ladies and gentlemen, we have John Mbadi, the CS for Treasury. That was the national chairman of ODM. I think the longest lasting national chairman of ODM. When they go to the cabinet meetings, let's say it is their position that Ruto must go. Let's say ODM's position, which Sifuna spoke of, is that Ruto has to go. How does that work for them in the cabinet meetings? So ask yourself, does it make sense? That is why I tell you the first approach, that Sifuna is speaking for Raila and ODM, does not make sense. And those of you who are arguing that Raila Odinga said Sifuna is the spokesperson, yes, he said he is the spokesperson, but he was just reminding him that courtesy of his position is not allowed to be reckless. Now, you will be asking, why can't he be fired? Why can't he be removed from his position now that he is not speaking for the party? The fact that the party has not fired him, the fact that he has not faced any disciplinary action from the party organs, means that he is actually speaking for the party. A wonderful argument until you ask yourself, how does ODM gain from firing Sifuna? The biggest punishment that ODM, in my view, has given Sifuna is ignoring him. Imagine being the Secretary General of the party, and yet the decisions of the party are made without your input. And even when you protest, they don't care. I am not creating this. Sifuna, during his interview with Okwara, Yvonne, said that ODM recently met and resolved that there is a committee that will be formed to review the implementation of their 10-point agenda with UDA. Sifuna said in that interview that he said he should be excused from it because according to him, the MOU was already dead. Yet Raila Odinga, during his recent interview, said that that team was there and it was reviewing the 10-point agenda, meaning that even with this objection, even by declaring that the MOU was dead, ODM as a party still went on to constitute this team to review these things. In my opinion, that is worse punishment than firing Sifuna. If you fire him, he becomes some small martyr. That is what the likes of Sifuna want. They want to be these small martyrs, people who are kicked out of their party because they stood for the people and stood for Gen Zs and fought a very bad leader like Ruto. So it's just ignored. You have listened to Gladys Wanga making positions that rally with what Raila is saying. You have listened to all governors, including James Orengo now, who has told the line of the party. You've listened to Joe saying, I am in this government to stay. You've listened to Oparanya and all other these leaders. They are saying they are in this government to stay. They are in broad-based government to stay. Yet the party general is saying the broad-based government is dead. I don't recognize it. It doesn't. So he is ignored. They have left him to rant, in my opinion. Rant away. Say what you want to say. Please the audience you want to please. But people will still see us in the same thing you're saying is dead. Sifuna had declared the broad-based government dead long time ago. In fact, during the tragic demise of Ojwang, the young man from Homa Bay, Sifuna used that to make a position that the broad-based government was dead. There was no longer any agreement between ODM and UDA, and that there was nothing. Yet, to date, nothing has changed. ODM is still intact inside broad-based government, and they are doing things the way they were doing. Nothing changed. So Sifuna has been ignored. I just want to tell you that the reason as to why he has not been fired is because ignoring him is even a worse punishment. And you've seen how bitter Sifuna is. Even during this interview, he was not a composed guy. He was extremely bitter. You can review the interview and watch it on Citizen. I think it is even on YouTube. You can review. You will see a very angry human being. And if he was communicating with all that anger, it is not because he was communicating the position of a party. He was communicating his position and maybe expressing his frustration that he is not being heard, that he is completely being ignored. The second option or the second approach of looking at Sifuna's statements is to argue that he communicates for the opposition, that Sifuna is on his way out of ODM, is praying that he's fired so that he becomes a martyr, and then join the opposition. Because remember, Sifuna is an affirmative action candidate. He was given this ticket of Senate after he had failed in a competitive process in his home in Bungoma. So he came here and they were like, we have a secretary general, he should not be out. Let us give him the Senate ticket. Of course, that is, I think, the first political post he ever won anyway. Now, ladies and gentlemen, with that in mind, Sifuna might have looked at every aspect and said that if I stay with this kind of arrangement of broad-based, there might be some arrangement which will not include me, which will mean I may not get the ticket to go for Senate or for a position I want. That means that I might have to compete. So what do? I make sure I align myself with the other team so that if I'm fired from here, I go to that place. And ladies and gentlemen, this is not very far-fetched. Watch the interview Sifuna did yesterday, and you will find him urging the opposition to continue their narrative. He was saying, that narrative is good. I like it. You should continue with it. Let not Ruto intimidate you. That is the Secretary General of a party that is in government, advising the opposition to continue with their anti-Ruto narrative. That position was good. You should not be intimidated. You should be okay. He was agreeing with the opposition and their narrative. And why would he do that? I have told you that as far as I'm concerned, Sifuna wants out of ODM, but he wants it to be messy. He wants a situation where he's kicked out and it becomes some small matter, believing that there is actually a Gen Z that is formidable enough to get him elected without even the support of Raila Odinga. So he is reckless. But everybody can see that whatever Sifuna is saying is what Rigathi is saying, is what the opposition is saying. Actually, if you are to ask me, who does Sifuna speak for, I can tell you without fear of contradiction that he speaks for Rigathi Gachagua. Yes. And he is not doing this out of his love for Rigathi Gachagua or his love for Kalonzo Musyoka. It is about political strategy. He believes that he might not enjoy the special treatment he has if ODM and UDA come together, because then there might be zoning, there might be like, we have governor, or give us this person, and Sifuna feels like he might not be there. So what if he is with the likes of Rigathi and then they give him the Senate support? He is persuaded he might win. So it's just a matter of political survival for him. That is my belief, that if you approach it from the angle that he is speaking for the opposition, then it is true, because he even said so. He echoed whatever they say. Compared to speaking for ODM, where ODM is saying this and Sifuna is saying another thing, and people are like, perhaps this is what they are saying in secret. When it comes to the opposition, Sifuna was echoing their narrative openly, and did not just echo narrative. He said they should not be intimidated. They should continue doing what they are doing. And the biggest agenda, whether they don't have any other agenda or any other thing, the biggest agenda is the removal of William Ruto from office. And that is what the likes of Rigathi are saying, that we have an agenda. Our agenda is to remove Ruto from office. Then we will look at what to do later. The first thing is to remove Ruto from office. And that is what Sifuna was echoing. So he's just speaking the mind of the opposition, in my opinion. But what about those who are saying that Sifuna is just a good leader who hates injustice, who will never keep quiet when there is injustice? When things are going wrongly, he will always speak, even if he's speaking out of turns. That is what some people are saying, but that is also what Sifuna was saying. He has said this several times. That is somebody who will always speak his mind. He will never do it. I want to remind you that that is the highest form of hypocrisy, and I don't know why a young man like Sifuna would be that hypocritical. Guess what? You see, this same Sifuna was the Secretary General of ODM during the handshake government. And during that time, ladies and gentlemen, not only did we have corruption cases, no. I'm not talking of just scams, looting and other things. No. Which Sifuna said not a single word against. Forget about the corruption that was in that government. You see, that Uhuru Kenyatta that shook Raila's hand is the one that was being accused by the likes of Sifuna of killing Luos and the Nasa people, murdering hundreds of them. In fact, they called it genocide. Yet when Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta shook hands, we didn't see Sifuna reading a riot act, reminding people that there was no way they could work with somebody who was killing their children. No. That was not Sifuna for you. Sifuna was obedient and loyal. Even when bodies were found in River Yala, I dare you to show me how worked up Sifuna was. Which TV did he go to criticize Uhuru Kenyatta and say that the priority is to make sure that Uhuru Kenyatta does not even finish his second term? No. Sifuna is a typical political hypocrite who does not even feel the shame. He doesn't even feel ashamed. He is so persuaded that is right that he doesn't even see that everybody else can see that is lying. So when Sifuna tells you that he is doing this because he hates injustice and other things, assuming such things are there, ask him, when did he realize this? Because during his time with Uhuru Kenyatta. He was still the Secretary General. He would still speak for the party. He was supposed to say the things that he's saying currently. He never said those things. He kept quiet. Why? Because then there were political guarantees for him. He was going to be somehow be rewarded politically, and Raila Odinga, who was his leader, was going to be made president. Sifuna believed that anytime he would have been given a bigger role or maybe made a cabinet minister. So he uttered no word. In this particular arrangement, he feels that Raila might not vie, and since Raila might not vie, the special treatments that he would have gotten if Raila was a candidate might not be there. That is why he is bitter. And you could see that he was very bitter, visibly angry. You would think that he was annoyed before he went to the studio. So, ladies and gentlemen, I can just tell you that if you asked me who Sifuna speaks for, I can tell you Edwin Sifuna, the Secretary General of ODM, is speaking for the opposition, especially the narratives being run by the likes of Rigathi Gachagua. He is not doing this because he's an independent-minded and outspoken guy. He failed when he was needed to do that. So he cannot just revive, and now he's a different guy. Two, he is not speaking for Raila Odinga, because if he was doing so, what it means is that Raila Odinga is working to bring Ruto down, which doesn't make sense because Raila Odinga can do this from outside. Even the so-called opposition, which Sifuna speaks for, believes that Raila Odinga is the one that is sustaining Ruto. Why can't he just leave instead of issuing ultimata and at the same time praising the government? Why? What waste of time would that be? Why would Raila waste his time doing things that he know he could achieve easily? Why would ODM governors be all over praising the government and meeting and strategizing on how to develop their areas? Why not just walk out, leave Ruto, ignore him? He fails. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Sifuna is only speaking for the opposition. Before we conclude, somebody also told me that what if Raila is simply blackmailing Ruto? He praises him here, and then he sends Sifuna to make some utterances that would make Ruto wonder, what type of people am I dealing with? These people are about to leave me. Whatever it is that Raila wants, I should give him. If somebody told you that, then that person doesn't even know a quarter of who Ruto is. William Ruto as a politician is the last person you can blackmail. Those who know William Ruto will tell you at personal level or politically, will tell you he's not somebody you can do two things to. You can never intimidate that man. And two, you cannot blackmail him. You know why? How would you blackmail Ruto? By threatening that he does not get a second term. Who told you that Ruto is obsessed with the second term? Is not. Contrary to what some of you think, William Ruto is not obsessed with the first term. He is obsessed with a legacy. William Ruto wants it to be known that when he was president, this and this and this and this happened. That is what he's busy with. That is why he brought ODM leaders into his government and gave them key roles. What he wants is, can we have this legacy? Can it be that during my time, whether it was one term, whether it was a quarter term, whether it is 2 terms, whether it is 20 terms, can it be that during my time in power, I fixed health, I fixed education, I fixed our infrastructure, I fixed the job market, and I fixed our agriculture? Can it be recorded that William Ruto did this? That is what he's obsessed with, not second term or etc. Because he argues this way. What if you die today? Because you can't have guarantees that you will be alive forever or will be alive to even serve the second term. So what if he died today? I remember there was a time he was saying that some people told him, you don't make these changes at once. These are things that you wait, you do when you are in your second term, when you don't need anybody's support. And William argued that first of all, you are not guaranteed to be alive till then. And also the problems of Kenyans are not things to toy with. He said, we do what we can do now when we are still alive. If we get a second term, amen. If we don't get a second term, okay. Does it mean that he's not working for the strategizing for a second term? He is, but he's not obsessed with it. What he is obsessed with is delivering. That is why you don't see the man resting. He doesn't rest. He's all over. He's doing this, he's doing that, everything. So he's focused on, can I achieve something within the time that I'm president? I don't think Raila Odinga would go and try to blackmail such a person. Because if you did, he can tell you then, okay, fine, walk out. Do your worst. Join whoever you're joining. Do your worst. Do what you want to do. What will happen? The worst that can happen is we have anarchy and then the military takes over. That is the worst that can happen. And Kenya's military is a very professional one. It's rarely political. So, ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to tell you about Sifuna, and I hope you found value in this video. If you did, let me know in the comment section. If you are those who believe Raila is about to walk out and etc., also let me know in the comment section. I don't have monopoly of ideas. I'm just sharing with you what my perspective is with the facts that support my perspective. Otherwise, like I said, if you have not subscribed, please take a second, subscribe so that we grow the channel together. And don't forget to like this video and share it with friends. Otherwise, if you want to know why Sifuna Edwin is very bitter with William Ruto, watch this video.